warning the people. He's giving them God's warning with the promise that if they don't straighten up and fly right, they'll have God's judgment upon them. Now, what was the biggest problem the Israelites, the Hebrew people, had during the days of Jeremiah? Idolatry. I mean, that was the fountainhead, wasn't it? That's the fountainhead from which every problem flowed from. That sound kind of similar to today? Isn't idolatry still a rampant problem in the world? Nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. And what we find is these idols, they tolerated a bunch of things. They tolerated everything because they couldn't do anything. But in the minds of the people, the idols they worshiped, they tolerated poor people suffering. They tolerated people that were lying. They tolerated injustice. And those were things that were at the heart of God's warning. You were being intolerant to poor people. You were being unjust to people. You were using your powers for evil works. Trampling on people that are unable to help themselves. That's one of the warnings Jeremiah was giving to the Israeli people. So, and what we see in these verses in chapter 10, 2 through 5, we're seeing a warning and a complaint. Usually they're one and the same with God. There's a warning or complaint followed by a warning. That you're putting idols up, you're trusting in the work of what? Your own hands. That happens again today, doesn't it? Yes, Brother Dick.
They not only tolerated it, a lot of the times they
promoted it. Yep. And would the Lord share His authority? Ooh. God does not share His authority, His sovereign authority to rule over His people, does not share His authority to prescribe laws or to find goodness. He does not share this. He has never shared this. He will never share this. The essence of idolatry then in the ancient times, and I think in modern times too, is the manufacture of little g gods who affirm our lifestyles, who affirm how we wish to live, how we wish to attend to our lives, how we wish to treat others. That's what happens. We create gods to suit ourselves rather than we creating within us ways to suit God. I mean, what's easier? Inward change or outward construction? Outward construction. I mean, you can take these two little things we call hands and make something. A little bit of sweat, a little bit of elbow grease. You've built something. But aren't we always, isn't it always a daily struggle to change what's in here and in here? I think as Brother Joe and I said the first thing this morning, we're always works in progress. Our work on ourselves, is it ever completely done in our lifetime? No. There's always something to improve on. There's always something we can learn. There's always someone we can teach. There's always someone we can lift up. There's always something to do. There's always something to improve on. Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, it's this all that reminds me of, there was a TV commercial. This is probably 20 years ago now, maybe even longer. About, there was advertised on TV these little bitty swimming pools, that were maybe a length of you that you would swim against the current. That's kind of us always, right? We're always swimming against the current. The world trying to push us backwards, and we're always trying to get that little bit further. And this is the problem that was going on with the kingdom of Judah, the people in Jerusalem. They had stopped swimming. They had stopped, I really think I could say they stopped trying. They had stopped trying. And they decided, well, I'm not going to try on myself. I'm going to make God conform to me rather than me conform to God. And then what we see then is this idolatry running rampant. And think too, they're in the clear night skies. They were in the customs of all the people. I mean, there was rampant invitation to backslide, to go in a different direction. I mean, they look up in the heavens and think, all of this, there's got to be more than one God in all of this. That's what they were thinking. Again, they should know better. But, the Babylonians, aren't they the ones knocking at the gates, so to speak, figuratively and literally? They were very keen observers of the night sky. And they knew the sky well enough to predict eclipses. That's for ancient people, that's pretty good observation. They also maintained that the heavenly phenomena were portents of human events. Now we know that's not to be true, with a few minor exceptions. But astrology advanced hand in hand with astronomy. God tolerated no hint of compromise, however. Signs of the night sky offered no predictions of what was to come, except, again, for one or two minor exceptions. I use minor very loosely there. Those who think the modern world is too sophisticated to take such matters seriously just needs to open a newspaper. I think we talked about this Wednesday night a little bit too. Where do we, in a modern newspaper, if people even still read newspapers anymore, isn't there always a horoscope section? You know where that comes from? That's ancient astrology. That is a holdover. There's nothing new under the sun. Sophisticated scientific America. We're sophisticated, right? We believe in the science, right? We're still awash in that superstition. There are people that are still hold to that. I can remember driving down the back roads of South Georgia, seeing the palm readers. Big old sign in somebody's front yard. We'll read palms. Fortune tellers. I'm old, but I ain't that old. Okay? God's revelation to Jeremiah. This is a revelation that was affirmed by Jesus. Is this: if the Lord rules over the universe, sun, moon, and stars have no sway in life events. This week at the 39th Avenue congregation, there was a VBS. Topic was Jesus, the name, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the Lord, the miracles of Jesus. So we have some false gods, again, little g gods, grew out of stargazing. Others came from earth. God reflected on the absurdity in these passages. I mean, he's basically giving a step-by-step of when a person cuts down a tree. They carve the timber. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it down so it could not topple. And then bowing before it as if it had power to do something. Just think about that for a second. You have a people that were given a promise way back in the days of Abraham that warned them there was going to be a time in Egypt, right? I mean, this was the Egyptian period was not unknown to Abraham and his descendants. That came true. Coming out of Egypt was foretold. Moses comes. They come out of Egypt. God has given his people every single step along the way. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you're talking about the tree being cut down.
Mm-hmm.
Carved. The tree is powerless. It couldn't be, but then you have the power to see people cut it down.
Yeah, no.
What can it do for you spiritually?
Yeah. It can do nothing. And it's kind of like when we were studying in Wednesday night class, we're studying the book of Acts, and we were talking about Stephen's defense before the Sanhedrin. Stephen's reminding the Jewish leaders of their history. A history that the more you just sit there and think about it, the more they seem so readily they have a desire to forget it. What's the old adage? Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. And haven't they repeatedly forgotten? In some ways, the Old Testament is a story of a people given so much and have forgotten almost as much. In Isaiah chapter 46 and verses 1 and 2, Baal bows down, Nebo stoops. Their idols were on the beasts and on the cattle. Your carriages were heavily loaded, a burden to the weary beast. They stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but they have themselves gone into captivity. In 115th Psalm, verses 3 through 8, but our God is in heaven. And I think this sentence right here pretty much sums it up. He does whatever he pleases. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they do not speak. Eyes they have, but they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear. Noses they have, but they do not smell. They have hands, but they do not handle. Feet they have, but they do not walk. Nor do they mutter through their throat. Those who make them are like them. So is everyone who trusts in them. And a few Psalms later in 135, verses 15 through 18, the idols of the nations are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they do not speak. Eyes they have, they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear. Nor is there any breath in their mouths. Those who make them are like them. So is everyone who trusts in them. These Psalms were written in the time of David. Still, and you have David warning again of this problem. You have Jeremiah warning of this problem. I think we touched a little bit about this last week too. But when the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant, This was back in the days of Samuel. They placed it in their temple of their little G god, Dagon. What happened?
Knocked over all the statues.
Knocked over all the statues. All the statues were falling on their face. So what do? They
Back up and they fall over again.
put them back up and they fall over again. But then there was something else done to the statues. Their heads were cut off. Their hands were cut off. God is, this is where I say God has a little bit of a sense of humor. You have built this image, you have built this God to worship. You've taken my ark, the Ark of the Covenant that I have instructed, you've taken it away and put it into your temple. Next thing you know, I'm just going to knock down all your idols. You put them back up. Okay. Now I'm just going to knock them down, but this time I'm going to cut their hands off and their heads off. I mean, what is God showing here? That they had no power. They had no power. They couldn't even be secure in their own temple in God's presence. God mocked the helpless gods of the nations. They sat, he says, as serenely as a scarecrow in a cucumber field. Jeremiah in chapter 10, verse 5, they had to be carried from place to place. How foolish is it to forsake the Lord of the universe, the living God, in order to serve a God that can do nothing? I mean, it's just very foolish. But let's think in terms of this. What is Jeremiah saying? God, Yahweh, the living God, has all the power, can do anything. However, you people are so foolish, are so deluded, that you would rather trust in something that can do nothing. I mean, how much stronger does Jeremiah have to be in his comparisons here?
People who create these.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they can make, let's say, costumes for people
Mm-hmm.
to wear that speak and do these things, but they have no power.
No power.
People are deluded.
Yep.
And they believe that idol is really talking. But that person is, but that idol ain't talking.
That ain't saying a word.
Has no power.
No power. But I think it says something too, though, about the human condition. This was a problem, back way before Jeremiah. And it's a problem still way after Jeremiah. It's something that, as I think it was you, Brother Dick, that said, it's always a constant struggle not to backslide. There's just something in the human condition that wants to go this way. But God knows that we have the ability to go His way. And all He asks is that we have a little faith, put in the effort, and walk with Him. I mean, what did Jesus say? Deny yourself. And we sing a song. What is it? All of self, none of thee. Then some of self, some of thee. Then none of self and all of thee. I mean, that sings to our Christian walk, doesn't it? Because when we start that walk, what is it? When we start that walk, it's all of self, isn't it? But inside, when you start that walk, do you feel fulfilled or do you feel empty? I felt empty when I started my walk. I was as empty as a 5-gallon bucket with nothing in it. Light, kick me down a hill, I'd roll a long way. But then what happens? You start your walk. A caring brother, a caring sister starts putting stuff in there, right? You get a little bit, you're able to sit up a little bit. You can't get kicked over as easy. And then caring brothers and sisters do what? Put more in your bucket. Then you start, once you realize that you can put stuff in your own bucket, that bucket gets full. You can't get kicked over so easy. And you go from some of self, some of thee. Yes, ma'am.
That's like the 5 virgins and the lamp.
Yep.
And all that. So you got to do something with what you got.
Yep.
You'll never grow. You'll never get healed.
Well, and the thing is, God gives us everything we need. We just have to have enough common sense to take advantage of it. And this is what Jeremiah is talking about here. He's telling these people, you have zero common sense. God has given you everything, and you don't have any sense to take advantage of the blessings you've been given. You'd rather rely on nothing than everything. Let's go down to verses 6 through 11 in chapter 10. Inasmuch as there is none like you, O Lord, you were great, and your name is great in might. Who would not fear you, O King of the nations? For this is your rightful due. For among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like you. But they are altogether dull-hearted and foolish. A wooden idol is a worthless doctrine. Silver is beaten into plates. It is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz, the work of the craftsman, and of the hands of the metalsmith. Blue and purple are their clothing. They are all the work of skillful men. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and the everlasting King. And his wrath the earth will tremble, and the nations will not be able to endure his indignation. So if the people are idolatrous when they set aside what God has revealed himself to be, opting for self-made, indulgent deities who wink, for lack of a better term, at their faults, wink and a nod, so to speak, then idolatry is alive and well in modern America too. I mean, this is the beautiful thing of the Bible. We have a story of an ancient people, thousands of years before us. And it's so relevant to today. An atheist is no more offensive to God than an idolater. Whether one is self-declared atheist or merely indifferent to God, a functional atheist, he typically has no interest in defining God in blasphemous ways. An idolater, however, claims to know the mind of God. He will declare what God tolerates and excuses in human behavior. Who has that authority? Show me one person who has ever walked this earth that has the power to declare what God tolerates and what God excuses. That's the only one I'm aware of. Modern idolaters make claims about God, don't they? That come as much from their own imaginations as did those who created idols in Jeremiah. There is nothing new under the sun. as long as people are satisfied with outward forms of religion, determined to follow the fleshly impulses we have, idolatry is not going anywhere. Because really, the fleshly impulses, the inward desires of man, is where idolatry springs from. It springs from our desire to place ourselves in that authoritative seat, trying foolishly and futilely to replace God.
Worship. They worship Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that are set up. What can a cow do? Well, a cow kills the beef and something to eat.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I like cows. I mean, I'm just going to be honest.
But they can't do anything for you spiritually.
No.
And it makes you wonder sometimes how do people fall for these things, but they don't understand, but they don't want to understand. They think because they can do whatever they want, as long as that cow's there, that cow's taking care of them. But he's not.
He's taking, the animal will take care to the extent that it can, an earthly need.
Right.
Milk, food, what have you.
But no spiritual.
No spiritual need. And what we see here in Jeremiah chapter 10, 6 to 11, we see Jeremiah, with the aid of the Lord, contrasting between the idols and God. We see that, in the Near East of the early 6th century, when we're talking about Jeremiah here, there were idols all over the place. Well, we know this. 600 years later, in the Greek and Roman world, Paul and others found things to be really no different. In 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 5 and 6, for even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is one God, the Father, of whom all are all things, and we for him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom are all things, and through whom we live. 2,000 years later, 21st century United States. I'm going to keep ringing this bell. Many continue to prefer a deity suited to their tastes. A compliant, easy God expects no obedience. He sends everyone to heaven. Sound familiar? Everything's right, so long as you mean well. Jeremiah, however, confronted the idolaters directly. And he's confronting these idolaters whether in his day or every day since. He grabs them by the lapels. In verses 6 and 7, inasmuch as there is none like you, O Lord, you are great, and your name is great in might. Who would not fear you, O King of the nations? For this is your rightful due. For among all the wise men of the nations and in all their kingdoms, there is none like you. What is the answer? Dull-hearted and foolish people will bow the knee before an image drawn from their own imaginations. Jeremiah is turning this to mockery. Idolaters imported silver. They imported gold. They hired the best craftsmen. They clothed these images in, color purple. It was a royal color. In part because it was so expensive to make. Blue. They clothed these idols, these images, in royal fineries. by their efforts amount, I'm probably, this is going to, hopefully some of y'all have heard this. All they were doing is putting lipstick on a pig. All they were doing was putting lipstick on a pig. Put all the lipstick you want, it's still a pig. No compromises. Let me put it this way. One of the things that set Jeremiah apart from some of the other prophets in his day was that Jeremiah was very uncompromising. Jeremiah was given a task to communicate God's word, and he did so directly. And he's doing that here. He does that throughout this entire book. But he's giving the people a warning and a promise. The idols will perish, but God remains forever. He's giving them a warning and a promise. What you believe in does not last. What you should believe in lasts forever. And we'll go to verses 12 through 16. He has made the earth by his power. He has established the world by his wisdom. And he has stretched out the heavens at his direction. When he utters his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens. And he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain. He brings the wind out of his treasuries. Everyone is dull-hearted without knowledge. Every metalsmith is put to shame by an image. For his molded image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. And they are futile and works of error. In the time of their punishment they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the maker of all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Jeremiah does not speak as frequently nor as poetically of God, the Creator, as Isaiah did. In Isaiah 42, verse 4, he will not fail nor be discouraged till he has established justice in all the earth, and the coastlands shall wait for his law. Or in Isaiah 44:24, thus says the Lord your Redeemer, and he who formed you from the womb. I am the Lord who makes all things, who stretches out the heavens all alone, who spreads abroad the earth by myself. Isaiah is very poetic. Isaiah is very beautiful writing. Jeremiah is just as clear, but where I think Jeremiah is is the velvet, or the iron fist and the velvet glove sometimes. That's Isaiah. Jeremiah is the sledgehammer. Jeremiah is the one that kicks the door in and starts swinging. But Jeremiah is telling people here, the nations associated with their gods with supposed supernatural phenomena, the sun, the lightning, the rain, what have you, he's telling them that none of this is because of what you have made, what you have put faith in. God controls. God is over these things. In Deborah, in Judges 5:4, and in Habakkuk 3:3, they saw God standing in Edom, shaking himself off like a mighty man of war, striding across mountains and coming to the rescue of Israel. In Psalms 68, verses 8 and through 10, the earth shook. The heavens also dropped rain at the presence of God. Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel. You, O God, sent a plentiful rain, whereby you confirmed your inheritance. When it was weary, your congregation dwelt in it. You, O God, provided from your goodness for the poor. Everything that the people were saying was a response of the idols was because of the idols. Everything was because of God. Nature responded when God moved. A mist rose on the horizon. Lightning rinsed the sky. Rains descended and wind blew. All of this because of God. The idols, by contrast, sat at their podiums and did what they do, which is nothing. No, Jeremiah tells them no breath was in them. So, really, Jeremiah's message for ancient Israel and for us today is the same. God is one. Absolutely no other deity shares his glory. One, because no other deity exists. The one God helped the people of Israel. But not only did he help them, he held them accountable. Does he hold us accountable? He holds us accountable for the way we live. As sovereign of the earth, God is judge of all. God's revelation through Jesus Christ is that a great day is coming when all will stand before him to be judged. It's foolish for a modern people to conjure up their own notions of what God is, and sometimes I think it's not only do they conjure up notions of who God is, but to me it almost sounds like they're conjuring up notions of who God should be. Yes, ma'am.
That made me think of Pastor Vernon and his co-worker used to get angry with me when at the end of the day I would say, if it's the Lord's will, I'll see you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want me saying that. She said to live or something like that. But anyway, she would get angry with me, but I let her know, I know my Lord, I can't do anything without him. Neither can you can't wake up in the morning without him. But
No.
I didn't want to preach to her on the job, but
Yeah, but
go on one day.
well, sometimes you just get sometimes don't kick against the goad, but if somebody pokes you, sometimes you got to respond a little bit.
That's right.
You just said,
Mm-hmm.
when somebody gets mad, a person who said it backs off and say it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to offend somebody.
Right.
If you're offending somebody, call it up, well, then it's more power to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is this: if you want somebody to think, if you really want somebody to think, and part of our goal in sharing the gospel is to make people think, right? Well, if you're going to make people think, you have to run the risk of being offensive. Because when you offend people, you're challenging them. And usually you're challenging something very deep down inside, something they hold dear. But if you're going to be willing to think, make someone think, you have to be willing to be a little bit offensive. Now, do we have to go in there and just blow everything up? No. That's not usually going to be the right way to do it. But you have to understand there are going to be times where you're going to offend somebody. People are offended by the truth all the time. That's just the nature of it. But that's how we share the gospel. Because if we don't make somebody think, what have we shared? Nothing. We have shared nothing. We are wise when we read the Bible carefully and we know and we read and we see God's hand in everything. In His self-revelation, we learn how to live. We learn how not to live. We learn how to worship. But just as important, we learn what it means to be among His people. And we have to understand that everything that is out there in the world, there's nothing new under the sun. Jeremiah fought against the same things that we're fighting against. Jeremiah, and the thing is, Jeremiah had the benefit of God's revelation, but so do we. We have the same tools that Jeremiah had, just in a slightly different form.
I had a preacher one time, he was teaching about science, and he says, you know, true religion, thinking man,
Mm-hmm.
one who don't think, he's just going to accept whatever said. But a thinking man, he wants to be like the Indians, they're going to be found.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a good point. That is a good point. We are at our stopping point for this morning. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The Tetragrammaton, that is basically that is the constant. So in a lot of Bibles, what you'll see is the word Lord written in big lowercase letters to set it aside. And it's also the consonant spelling of Yahweh. So that's what they call, that's what they refer to that as the Tetragrammaton, is the four letters that spell Yahweh, YHWH. And those four letters in Hebrew Scripture is how they set aside or set forth God's name, Yahweh. What you see in the post-Babylonian captivity is a shift away from using that, because do not take the Lord's name in vain? Well, so they started going, well, if we never say His name, we'll never use it in vain. Which has a slight logic to it, if you think about it. But at the same time, if you don't say it, are you honoring that name? So that's a cut your nose off to spite your face thing. But that's what that Tetragrammaton is. It's the YHWH spelling in the Hebrew Bible, in the Hebrew for Yahweh, for God's name. Any other questions, comments? Very good. Well, I'll look forward to worshiping with y'all shortly. Excellent. Oh, turn this thing off.